life's experiences. And in my previous life, I was a children's pastor for nearly 20 years.
Oh,
And I did an awful lot of marketing to children, but I knew that I had to communicate to the parent because we were reaching children and parents that did not attend church. So we had to excite the child, but give assurance to the adult, the mum and dad.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're watching this podcast from. My name is Kunle Olufemi. I am your host on The Adventures, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to another exciting and I dare say a super exciting edition of the Adventures podcast. Right, as you know, on Adventures, we seek to tell the stories of courage and vision behind the brands and the businesses that you see around you every day. Right, and today we're just going to be doing that, and we have an exciting guest for you today. So please, I will encourage you to please get your writing materials, right? Get a comfortable position, get your writing materials, and be ready to glean, solid wisdom from this very episode of The Adventures. All right. Today, our guest is not just he's young at heart, right? But he's more like an elderly entrepreneur and he's been on the entrepreneurial journey for some time. So this is not just somebody who has done business and succeeded. So he's done multiple businesses, and so his success is not a fluke, right? And he's got stories and experiences and testimonies to share. So to say, he is the founder of an organization in the UK called the Blue Squid UK, and I think they said that they take fun seriously, right? Blue Squid was founded in 2015, and has been dedicated to its mission of bringing families together, fostering bonding and enhancing energy, creativity, and happiness. Right? I dare say today that Blue Squid is the category leader, you know, um, number one seller of face paints and related products on Amazon globally, right? So when Paul speaks, you better listen to him. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Paul Bristol. Hi, Paul. Pleasure to have you around.
Hi, Kunle. It's great to be here. Thanks for the incredible introduction. I kind of don't recognize myself sometimes when you talk.
Thank you, Paul, for coming. It's such a pleasure to have you around. So ideally, what we do is we start by asking you to, of course, say hello to our viewers and then tell them a little bit about your business, right? I call it your unpaid advert because you never can tell. Some of your customers may be on my timeline, right? So go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself and about the business, and then we'll begin to dive into the interview proper. Over to you, Paul.
Okay, well, yeah, great to be here. And thank you, Kunle, so much for having me on your channel, which I've watched a few episodes and they've all been very good, very excellent. So I wish you well in the growth of the channel and hope that I can play my small part in helping contribute to its success. My name's Paul Bristow. Um, I think you alluded to my age a minute ago. I know that African gentlemen always look really young for their age. I think I probably look what I am, which is I turned 60 last weekend. So for me, that was a big thing because I always thought that 60-year-olds are very old people. But now I'm there. But I feel strong and I feel fit. And my wife and I, we launched a business on Amazon 10 years ago, and it's been successful. We started on Amazon in the US with children's face paint. Our brand is called Blue Squid. And from the success, which we'll tell more stories about how that evolved later. We branched out to selling on Amazon in Europe, which is UK, Germany, and France primarily. And we also diversified from not just face paint, but to other children's arts and craft. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey. I have another business, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit as well, which is a property business. And yeah, good to be here.
Thanks a lot, Paul, for that very brief introduction. So, if you are in the UK or even anywhere around the world and you're interested in buying face paints, you know where to or what to search for, right? Blue Squid, they have a website, and of course, you can search them out on Amazon. All right. Paul, I guess the first question I have for you will be around the scale of your operations today in terms of maybe your customer base, the size of the business in terms of maybe the people, the customers you're serving, you know, um, the scope of the operations across country. You alluded to that briefly, right? And maybe, yeah, basically that.
Okay, well, primarily our purchases are all on Amazon. I mean,
Mm,
Amazon is a big skill that has to. It's a big monster and a lot of skill required to succeed on that platform.
yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily call myself an e-commerce expert, but I've learned how to do Amazon. So
Wow.
as far as our own
Mm,
website sales are concerned, they are very, very, very fractionally low, like less than 1%. Um, so we put all of our energy into um, being attractive to someone who's searching. If you type in the word face paint on Amazon, rather than Google. On Google, you just might be inquiring about face paint, learning about designs or whatever. Whereas if you type that keyword on Amazon, you know that you are dealing with a shopper, someone who has an intent to purchase. So Amazon is the world's largest shopping search engine, and we found that's the place to be. Um, so customer base, I would guess we've had maybe 4 million customers buy our product over the 10 years. 70% of our business is on Amazon in the US, 15% in the UK, and the remainder is split between mostly Germany, but a little bit of France. Italy and Spain is really minuscule. But yeah, that's where the customers are based. As far who are the customer, well, someone buying for children, arts and craft, face paint, they're probably mums,
mm,
parents, maybe grandparents.
mm.
Certainly, it's not the kids who are typing away. They don't seem to have the money. So, yeah, they're the type of customer. And we have to keep that very much in mind in terms of the customer avatar, who you are communicating with. So, in terms of everything we do in terms of packaging and our images and our videos, they're very geared towards the purchaser, but we're also trying to be attractive to the child because the child is the one that's going to receive the package maybe as a gift, and we want them to be elated when they open. So, yeah, very child friendly, but also communicating. The parent cares about safety of their children. Face paint, for example, is a cosmetic that you put on your face. So you need to hit the points that mother is concerned about for their child's well-being.
Wow, wow. Thanks a lot, Paul, for that. 4 million shoppers over the last 10 years is an average of give or take like half a million a year, right? Maybe more on the average, right?
But it's
Uh,
grown. It's probably more these days. Yeah, an average purchase price would be about $25, I would guess.
wow, wow. Well, that's okay. I guess my question is how many of these would you consider to be of this 4 million unique shoppers would you consider to be like regular shoppers or repeat shoppers or are most of them just like one time kind of customers?
I think about 5% are repeat customers, and maybe that's grown a little bit more in the US.
Mm,
If obviously face paint, although we don't market Halloween, um, people come and buy face paint a lot at Halloween. So when you see blue squid, when you're searching for that product, and then you come again next year, that would, oh yeah, I remember that, I had that last year. So that you do get a lot more repeat purchase around that holiday season. So yeah, I don't have the actual analysis on it, but that would be my estimate,
Yeah, yeah. I
about
mean,
5%.
it's just very good to know that. I mean, I like what you shared around the fact that your primary consumers are kids, are children, but they are not the decision makers, right? They are not the one bringing the money out of their pocket. Did you have to learn that the hard way, or it has always been part of your, like, the way you operated in terms of your targeting of your messaging, your packaging, and all of that? How did you arrive at that conclusion, or you've always known?
I think it goes back to. I'm sure we're going to talk about this a lot in the course of the call,
Yeah.
but life's experiences. And in my previous life, I was a children's pastor for nearly 20 years.
Oh,
And I did an awful lot of marketing to children, but I knew that I had to communicate to the parent because we were reaching children and parents that did not attend church. So we had to excite the child, but give assurance to the adult, the mum and dad, that this was a safe place that they could send their children to. In the UK, they take children. We take safeguarding really, really very seriously. So I learnt that very much so in the children's ministry role. And then, of course, when you've learnt that, then a
it's
lot
kind
of
of,
what I learnt there has come into the brand.
yeah.
I learned how to market to kids, and I learned how to market.
And you learned it in church.
I learned it in church. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So if we go back a little bit, Paul, to how it all started, right? Speaking of Blue Squid, and if you want to go even further back than that, feel free. How would you say that this whole thing started? Why face paints? Why, you? I think you've explained a little bit about why it's on Amazon, but why face paint? Why that particular category? And can you share a little bit with us about that?
So, can I go back a little bit further, and then I get to answer
Yeah,
that
yeah, that's
question?
okay. That's
So,
okay.
prior to being a children's pastor, I was in IT for almost 20 years as well. So
Mm,
I started at the bottom as a operator, then a programmer, then an analyst, a project manager, and then I ran a systems development for a major insurance PLC in London.
mm,
And so I learned a lot about IT and tech and management and project management and
mm.
the ability to manage many, many moving parts.
Yeah.
I then felt God's call to leave that career and take a huge salary cut and work reaching children. That was my heart to reach children with the message of
Mm,
Jesus. And so we launched. I went and worked for the church, but with the very distinct purpose of running a children's outreach ministry
mm,
to unchurched kids, and that was very, very successful and a very rewarding part of my life. I
mm,
loved that part of my career. But as that began to come to a natural conclusion for me because of
mm.
my age, because it was a highly energetic type activity, um,
How big
I
was
began to
this?
get into.
How big
Sorry.
was that ministry? How big was that? How expansive was that operation?
Okay, so um, I live in Windsor, and I grew up in a town called Slough, which is next door to Windsor. So in Windsor, we have lots of estates, and where there can be thousands. I think Slough is, I think it's 150,000 people. I think Windsor is 30,000 people. So it's nothing like Lagos. I know some of your audience is there, which is multi millions. So we're dealing with fairly small towns. We're not dealing with cities.
Yeah.
And sorry that I say that first, but to answer your question, we launched 6 double-decker buses within a
Mm.
very short period of time at the beginning, and we were reaching, on average, 400 to 500 children a week that would
Wow.
come on these double-decker buses and come to this children's outreach project. And over 18 years, we had 18,000 children in
Wow.
attendance. And what I learned I had a team of 40 people in the church, volunteers. I was full time employed, and I haven't had an employed assistant in the church. But as I say, 40 volunteers.
Mm.
And what we learned, we then went to South Africa and we taught a church that was a sister church in
Wow.
just outside of Cape Town.
Mm.
And that ministry model was replicated there, and it turned that church upside down. It
Wow.
absolutely revolutionized. They were seeing 1,000 kids every week. I mean, it was
Wow.
incredible. So when we first went there, it was like 150 people. It very much soon became 150 people with 1,000 kids,
Wow.
and then over time, those kids become part of the adult youth and adult church as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's my background.
Okay. So how did that transition into the business of face paints and blue squid
Oh
and
yeah,
all
yeah. Sorry, I didn't answer that question.
that?
So we began to get into property. We made lots of mistakes in property, but we then began to go on various training courses and learn how to do it right. And in those courses, where we had to pivot our property business into a completely different model that began to be very successful, we bought several houses and then we ran out of deposit money. And there were lots of people on the property events that I attended that began to talk of this Amazon opportunity. The opportunity was described as 4 hours work a week, and you can sit on a beach, and the money just pours in. So I thought, oh, that sounds good. I'll go on a course. So we spent a lot of money on training, and we learned about how to do Amazon. We began to learn the basic steps, and our first product was a wine accessory product, and
Paul,
we spent.
can I ask you to pause there just to quickly double click on a point? You mentioned that before you started the business, you went on this extensive training. How long was that? How old were you? How much are we looking at in terms of training investment?
Okay, so the course was £3,000, and it was a 2-day course. So it was quite an investment. It wasn't a long course, but then they tried to do a hard sell, and I think I did sign up for a £10,000 course, but then realised, hang on a minute, this is a bit shady, and I got my money back, and I didn't go through the course. I felt, actually, no, I've learnt the basics. Let's now just give it a go. So we gave it a go, and the first product, as I said, was a wine accessory product, and we had to go through a lot of steps in order to get it into Amazon and get launched, and it was a complete failure, absolute dreadful failure. I remember after probably 4 months of working on this product, it eventually landed in Amazon, and I was at a birthday party, my father-in-law's birthday party, a barbecue in the garden, and up popped my phone. Oh, we made a sale, and then next minute, oh, we've made another sale, and then the next minute, another sale. Flipping out, we've only just gone live. What's going on? And within 20 minutes, I had 500 units as a test order. Within 20 minutes, I'd sold 250.
Of the wine accessories, right?
But I'd sold them, instead of $25, I'd sold them at $1 each. So that's the first lesson I learned of how not to run Amazon coupons and
That was why it
discounts,
was
and
moving very fast, right?
because basically I'd put a
Give it a
99%
break.
discount on, and so there were different methods and ways of. Basically, I'd made a huge mistake. A
Yeah.
coupon code should have been a private thing, but it was public on the Amazon website, and then as soon as someone noticed it, they all talked to their friends, and everyone just dives in. So yeah, we learned lots of mistakes. We learned how not to do Amazon, and the product was a flop, and we gave up. My wife and I just gave up. But then probably 4 months, 5 months later, I thought, and I said to Julie, I think we need to have another look, because we learned an awful lot in the mistake. In the errors that we made, there was a lot of steps in the process that we need to have another go. So basically, I went back to square one and started doing product research again, and I found an opportunity in face paint. And we placed a test order, I think, of 1,000 units. They eventually landed in Amazon, and they sold very, very fast. Not as fast. They sold sensibly priced, but they sold quickly. And it was at that point that I thought, hang on, this looks good. So we then placed another order of 3,000 units, because now we're ordering big. So these products are like $5 a piece. So now we're spending 15,000 on our next order, and again they were selling really quick. And I thought, hang on, this is good. So I'd been working with a mentor, and I messaged him and I said, look, wherever you are in the world, I think I need to come and spend some time with you. And he responded saying, yeah, I'm in Australia. And I said, okay, I'll be on the plane tomorrow. And I got a flight the next day, and I flew to Australia for this 2-day or 1-day meeting with him.
From London?
And from London, yeah. And when I got into Australia, we sat down in a hotel, and he looked at my numbers and he said, Paul, this is amazing. You've struck gold. This is a product that's going to do really well. And Halloween is coming, and you need to go back and you need to invest £100,000 in face paint. And so I had to go back, remortgage my house, and raise capital. And then it was very risky, very scary, but we felt that we had proved a bit of concept, and that all sold. That Halloween, it just sold, just all went out the window. Yeah, just
£100,000 worth of inventory just went like that.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, in 6 weeks.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah, so that's where we began our journey, and that was all part time, because I was still working in the church as the children's pastor, and beginning to realize there's an opportunity now to pivot into this. I mean, I was already in talks of weaning away from the children's ministry, but it seemed like God's timing was perfect, and it was time to make some kind of transition.
Paul, I have like 1,000,001 questions popping up in my head. I don't even know which one to throw at you first. like 1,000,000 questions from all you've just shared now. And I'm like, okay, let's slow down a little bit, right? So let's take it one step at a time. Now, if I go back to before you started selling face paint, or just as we're about to start, you mentioned that you sold 1,000 units first, right? And then you sold 3,000 units, right? And then you went on to have that conversation with your mentor. But before all of that, I'm just wondering what the state of your mind was when you lost everything that you invested in wine accessories, right? All of the products, you lost a lot of money, right? And
it wasn't a lot of money. We started really slow and small, because I think that's really important. You need to prove concept. So we only ordered 500. 500 times 5, that's not a huge investment.
That's about 2,500 quid.
Yeah.
2,500 quid is a lot of money.
Yeah, but I'd already spent 3,000 on a training course.
Yeah.
And we were trying to raise additional cash to help us buy more properties. So it was a dip in your toe in the ocean, really. But as I said, we learned a lot.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate 1 or 2 things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you on the next episode.